Is Dave there, please?
Hey, is this Sergeant Slaughter?
Is Dave there?
No, Dave. Dustin here, though.
Dave's not here. That's an old cheap shot joke. I was just trying to play on you. Yeah, this is the Sarge. Who am I speaking with?
This is Dustin.
Dustin, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. It's an honor.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Glad I could be able to do it.
Well, first of all, you're coming to the Lift Bridge Brewing Company in Stillwater this Sunday with Midwest All-Star Wrestling. You got to be excited to make your way back to Minnesota, I imagine.
I sure am. Got lots of friends and family that still reside in the Minnesota area, not too far away from Stillwater. So we're planning on a big little family reunion on top of meeting everybody there at the Lift Bridge Brewing Company in Stillwater for the big event this Sunday, the MAW wrestling event. And, part of my job being an ambassador with WWE is looking for new talent. So I'm going to have my eyeballs out watching the men and the women that are going to be doing battle there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, I'm hoping to get to some of my favorite spots over at Lions Tap there, in Eden Prairie. That's kind of where I grew up.
Sure.
And had a lot of great hamburgers over there, I'll tell you that. Hope to make it over there.
Awesome. Yeah, I know MAW has a lot of great wrestlers, and you've got a meet and greet set up between 3 and 5 o'clock this Sunday, and that's got to be great for you to see the longtime fans, back from your old AWA days all the way through today. I mean, you must have fathers and their kids, probably even grandkids at this point showing up.
Dustin, it really it surprises me every time I go to one of these events because there's some children or fans that can't even see over the top of the table, but they know who you are. And they're their parents and their aunts and uncles and their grandparents who were fans of mine growing up at their age too, tell them all about me. And of course, with the G.I. Joe being in the real live American hero for all these years, we just have re-enlisted with Hasbro, and we're back in G.I. Joe. We have an action figure coming out. It's already available for pre-sales, but it won't be out in the stores until, I believe it is January. But we're really excited about everything that's going on. And to come to Stillwater, Stillwater is considered the birthplace of Minnesota. I don't know if a lot of people know that. It's one of the oldest towns in Minnesota. I believe it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Wabasha, when I was a young boy in school, I was taught that Wabasha, Minnesota was the oldest city in Minnesota, but I could be wrong, but I was mistaken once, but I was wrong. But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know I'm going to see a lot of past fans and some new fans, and as I said, family and friends, and it just amazes me on how many people show up to these things. So if you're going to be coming and you want to get some autographs and photos, bring your Sergeant Slaughter Wrestling and G.I. Joe collectibles to get signed. I'll even put you in the Slaughter Hug for the ladies and the little ones, and we give the Cobra Clutch to the guys if they think they can take it. I don't know. I know those men, especially those men in Stillwater, they're still pretty tough.
Yeah, that's great for, especially around these parts, so many huge wrestling fans going all the way back. And you mentioned kind of the generations. I was a huge fan of yours as a kid, and I remember watching it with my grandpa when I was a little kid, and now I'm able to bring my own son. It's definitely, this is the place to be, I think, if you're a wrestling fan.
It is. And I started wrestling in 1972, 73 with Vern Gagne's training camp with Billy Robinson. And I've wrestled all the great ones: Andre the Giant, Vern Gagne, Mad Dog Vachon, the Crusher. For a while I wrestled under a mask called Super Destroyer Mark II. So a lot of people might remember me as the Super Destroyer Mark II also. And then I came back later on after my tour of duty with the WWE, and got into Hasbro and the G.I. Joe, and we brought the Sarge back to Minnesota, and it was just an incredible welcome, especially, growing up. As you said, I went to Eden Prairie High School, and I was a pretty good athlete there, and I've got a 56-year class reunion coming up. I'm going to be at that in September, and just a lot of great things happening in Minnesota. Nothing better than coming back home.
Yeah, that is great. And you were with AWA, right up until the end there, and eventually, of course, you went back to WWF, and you obviously made the right call. I mean, you went from turkey on a pole matches and some of the kind of weird stuff Vern was doing there towards the end to being the champion headlining WrestleMania. So you made the right call for sure. Yeah.
You just never know. You got to go with your gut feeling, and you make your decision, and you have to live with that decision. And a lot of people in the WWF at that time didn't think it was right for me to leave the first WrestleMania, which Hulk Hogan and I were going to be tag team partners in Madison Square Garden against Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, because Hasbro approached me about being the first living G.I. Joe. So I had a tough decision to make there, and I brought it to the table because I thought Vince McMahon would really want to, have two entities of wrestling and animation and the real American hero that everybody knows and loves. And he said that it's great that you brought it, but I can't do it because I just signed with a toy company called LJN. So that's a conflict of interest. And of course, he never thought that I would leave. He thought I was there for, the rest of my career. And I said, well, I really think we should do this. And I kept bugging him, basically, Dustin. And finally, he just point blank said, Sarge, you can stay here or you can go there. You can't be at both. And I think he thought I would say, okay, I'll stay here. But I had a nice meeting with my wife at the dinner table one night, and he said, what's the problem? I said, well, Vince wants me to stay, and I want to venture off into G.I. Joe. And he said, well, it's a pretty easy decision. And I said, it is? She said, yeah, you can always be a wrestler. You can't always be the first living G.I. Joe. And I looked over at her and I said, that's why you get the big bucks, honey. So I called Vince McMahon the next day and said I was leaving. And of course, that didn't go over so well. He had to redo WrestleMania and all that, brought Mr. T in to take my place. But it was a decision that I made, and I'm glad I did, because here, as I said, I just re-enlisted with Hasbro, and I'm back with G.I. Joe, and they've got 3 or 4 figures already designed, and I think it's going to be a great thing, and it allows me to go out and do other things other than just being stuck with one organization. And the way it's going these days, you just don't know, what's going to be there and how long it's going to be there. But I know one thing: G.I. Joe's not going anywhere, and Hasbro's not going anywhere. So I think I should say my wife made the right decision for me years and years ago.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, with that decision, you were able to do some other things outside of wrestling as well. I wanted to ask you, I don't know how often you're asked this, but your memories of releasing the Rocks America album. How did that all come about?
That was really a fun time. When I first came to the WWF back in 1979, Mr. McMahon Sr. was running the company, and he wanted me to come in and do a promo with his son. And I said, well, which one is he? He He says, he's the one with the, the pretty outfit on. He says, I can't believe it, but he spent $300 on a haircut. And I said, what? $300 on a haircut? He said, yeah, you'll recognize him. So I had never met Vince McMahon before. I knew his father, but so he said, yeah, go out and do a promo with him. I want to see how Sergeant Slaughter sounds on the microphone. So I said, okay. So I got ready to do it. And he says, is there anything that I can do to help you get ready for it? And I reached in my bag and I pulled out a cassette tape. I said, are you able to play music? And he said, what do you mean music? I said, this has a song on it. I was wondering before I go out if you could play the song. And he said, music? Yet I never thought about having music for, are you talking about entrance music? I said, well, he said, what's the song? I said, it's the Marine Corps hymn. He said, well, let me take it. He went into the control booth and the trucks and came back. He said, yeah, they can play it over the loudspeakers of the building. And I said, okay. He said, well, when you're ready, just let me know and I'll send you out there. So I said, okay. So it was time to go out there, and they've already seen 3 tapings, 3 1-hour tapings. So I was going out there and nobody knew who I was, and they'd seen about everything there was to see. So he said, okay, as soon as you hear your music, you go. I said, okay. So the music plays. I go to walk out the locker room door, and he put his hands across, or his arm across my path, and told me to hold up, because he was trying to hear the people, the reaction to the music. And then finally he said, okay, go ahead and go. So nobody knew who I was, as I said. And so I blew my whistle. I had a cigar in my mouth. I had my campaign cover on and my swagger stick and combat boots and my fatigues on. And I started walking toward Vince McMahon and started calling people maggots and scums and slime like you would in a boot camp. They didn't take too kindly to that, Dustin. I don't know why, but anyway, they didn't even know who I was, and they're trying to come over the railings and get me, And so finally, when I got to Vince, where he had the microphone and wanted to introduce me, I just went right up to his face and I said, "Shut your hole, puke. Who gave you permission to speak?" And he was startled because he'd never met me either. And so I started berating him and giving him orders, and he played along with it. And finally, when it was all over, he said, "Well, there he is, Sergeant Slaughter. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him," and blah, blah, blah. So I went to leave, and I thought, this would be a good spot. I took a big drag off of my cigar, and I turned around and I blew it in his face, and I gave him some more orders, and he started turning green and yellow and purple, and I didn't realize that he doesn't like smoke. And he started clenching his teeth and his fist, and I thought he was going to come after me. So I walked back over to him, and I said, "Stand at attention." So he did, and I took my swagger stick and I ruffled up his hair, and he was like, not liking that at all. And I whispered in his ear, I said, "Who cut your hair, Ray Charles?" And so we didn't start off on the right foot, but I got back to the dressing room and I started taking off my combat boots, and a lot of the wrestlers that were still there were kind of like shaking their heads. That poor guy, Sergeant Slaughter, he's going to get fired before he even gets started, messing around with the boss's son, So here comes Mr. McMahon walking around my chair while I was taking my boots off, and I finally look up at him, and he's giving me the signal to follow him, and he's shaking his head, not real happy. And he takes me into this back room, walks around me some more, and stops right in front of me, and he said, "Sergeant Slaughter, that's the greatest character I've ever seen in the professional wrestling business. And I've been in it a long time." He said, "I got to have you start right away." He said, "That even my son hates you right now." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry." He said, "Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine." He said, "But you got to start right away." I said, "Well, I'm still wrestling in Minnesota in the AWA for Vergalia, as a Super Destroyer Mark II. He said, oh, "Don't worry, I'll call Vergalia. I'll get you in here." So that's how it all got kind of started with the music. I was the first wrestler to ever have music, and so later on, the music business started clamping down on guys like myself and Hulk Hogan and other wrestlers. Boogie Woogie Man, he was playing the boy from New York City when he would go to the ring. And Hulk Hogan was using the Rocky theme, and
Sure.
everybody was using music, and it was something new. But the record business said, "Hey, you can't use those songs unless you pay." So I said, "Well, maybe I should start write my own song." So I wrote my own song, and by the time I went to Hasbro, I never got it recorded. So when that one weekend, I was just hanging out with some friends, and one guy had a band, and I told him about this song. He said, "Well, let's hear it." So we started kind of singing it and going through it, and he said, "I think we should make a record." I said, "A record? What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, yeah, we'll go out and play some gigs and stuff." I said, "Wait a minute, I'm a wrestler in G.I. Joe. I can't carry a tune, He said, "No, you don't have to. We'll all sing, we'll turn your microphone down a little bit, but we'll all," So they did. They kept my microphone up there so you can hear a little bit of sour notes here and there in that album. But, we came out with this album called Sergeant Slaughter and Camouflage Rocks America. And we did mostly American songs. We went to a couple of concerts, Neil Diamond and a couple other artists, and we got permission to use their songs and change a few words. And so we came up with this album. And, the Crusher had his own record, and I think Mad Dog Vachon had his own record. Super Destroyer Mark II had his own record from some of the bands, that I don't remember. A lot of people that are listening to this remember the Trashmen and the Kingsmen and
Sure.
A bunch of the great rock and roll garage bands back in the 70s and 80s around Minnesota in the 60s. And oh God, we had more fun. The Purple Barn out in Eden Prairie and all the great places to go and sing and dance. And so I made an album, and it didn't really, hit the number one on the charts, but it was a lot of fun to do, and a lot of people bring them to the signings, and I sign them, and I'm just thrilled to see them bring one of those records or albums. I had a 45 and an album, so it's fun to see those come through the line.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I also wanted to ask you something that I really loved as a kid was the Blood, Sweat, and Gears video and your tug-of-war with Bigfoot. How did that all come about?
Well, I was doing a special appearance at a monster truck show. And, of course, Bigfoot is the star of the show. So the promoter said, "Will you go out and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll do the national anthem. As soon as the national anthem's over, you just stay out there, and Bigfoot's going to come out with the American flag, and you guys, do whatever you got to do." And he said, make the best of it. And I said, okay. So here comes Bigfoot, and it was in a hockey, it was in the Hartford Civic Center, but they had a hockey game the night before, so they took all the ice out, put dirt in there for the monster trucks. So here comes Bigfoot, close to me, and he's not stopping. So I jumped up on the hockey rink on top as far as I could go where the glass starts, and I'm standing there and nowhere to go. And I said, in my mind, I said, well, maybe I'll try this. So I took a big leap, and I hit Bigfoot's his truck with an elbow smash, a flying elbow smash on the hood of the Bigfoot, and the driver made the truck go backwards like I really did something, and the people just went crazy. And so I got on the back of the Bigfoot with the American flag, and he did this wheelie down the path, and I'm hanging on to the American flag, and it was just an incredible feeling, and pictures and people were snapping pictures, and get back to the back, and the promoter came up and said, "Oh, I can't believe what you guys did out there." He said, "You guys did something together." I said, "What can I do against Bigfoot?" So I gave it some thought. A couple of friends of mine, we brainstormed it, and I said, "Well, maybe we could do man versus machine, where the humans are being tired of the machines taking over. So let's challenge Bigfoot to a tug of war." And there's no way we're going to win, but let's advertise it and see what happens. So we did, and so Bigfoot, the driver, was such a marvelous guy, and he set it up so that he could tell when we were pulling, and to kind of have some fun, he put some plates in the dirt before anybody got there in a certain place, and he had hooked up some oils to go on the back of his tires. So when he would, put his car or his truck in a certain gear, he could spin those tires, and they were smoking, and just like we were holding them. We were pulling on that truck, and the truck's, the Bigfoot's tires are smoking, and it was like a tense 30-second match, and they'd blow the horn, and it was like a tug of war match, 2 out of 3, the old wrestling style. And so we worked it out so that I let the crew, I forgot what was the name that I called the guys. Anyway, they had their leader, and we worked it out where they pulled the first 2 heaps, and then at the end I helped pull on the end, and we had a stalemate. So we wanted the audience to cheer to who won, Bigfoot or Sergeant Slaughter's Battle Battalion. That's what it was, the Battle Battalion.
Yeah.
And of course, it's his show. Oh, they're going to cheer for him. We knew that we weren't going to, get any votes. We got some, but everybody cheered for Bigfoot. So the driver got out, he and I shook hands, and I raised his hand, he raised my hand. But that's how that all came about. We did about 30 different cities around the United States doing that tug of war, and it was a classic. The one that you probably watched, the Blood, Sweat, and Gears, that was done in Tucson, Arizona, and we filmed out in the desert and did some different maneuvers, and had the Battle Battalion out there working out. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. I could talk to you all day. So many memories for me as a child, and it's great that you're still out there. And again, I know you're coming to Stillwater here, Liftbridge Brewing Company for Midwest All-Star Wrestling. You mentioned the new figures from Hasbro, the G.I. Joes coming out. Is there anything else maybe coming up for you that we should look out for?
Well, the Action Force is already out. That was the sister company of Hasbro, and they were in the UK only. And back when they were in the UK, they didn't call me Sergeant Slaughter there. They called me Sergeant Slammer, because the UK people thought that Slaughter was a little bit too rough for children to have to say. So about 2 years ago, a gentleman that worked for Hasbro saw that the UK Action Force, they didn't call it G.I. Joe in the UK, they called it Action Force. Instead of saying Yo Joe, they'd say Full Force. So he said the license has been dormant. Nobody's picked it up. If I buy that license, are you available to do some action figures and possibly a movie and some animation? And I said, of course I am. So he started this company up, and it's been incredible. The sales and everything on that. It's just that with all the COVID and all the problems with China and all the shipping and everything, it all got backlogged and backed up, and now it's becoming available. So that's something we're really looking forward to. I just did some voiceovers for a character called Dr. Military in Teen Titans Go. If anybody is listening, tunes into that one. That's a lot of fun. I couldn't be Sergeant Slaughter, but I could do the voice, but I couldn't call myself Sergeant Slaughter. So we called him Dr. Military, an evil veterinarian. So, but it was a lot of fun, and we do have. I have been approached about doing some movies, and we have a couple of movie things coming up, but they're all just in the talking stages as of now. But I'm basically doing all these appearances at wrestling matches and Joe Fest, and WrestleCons and WrestleCades, and getting to see all the fans, and so much fun. And as I said, I'm coming to Stillwater to do the signing, but I'm also keeping my eyeballs out for future talent. So I've heard that this MAW has some of the best talent going these days. So after you get done getting autographs and having some fun from 3 to 5, get into that arena and join me in watching some of the best talent around, and do that hand-to-hand combat in that squared circle in the battlefield of Stillwater. I'm really looking forward to the trip. I always look forward to coming back to Minnesota, but to be at the Minnesota All-Star Wrestling event is going to be a real fun time.
Wonderful. Again, it's been an absolute honor speaking with you. It means so much to me. Thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to meeting you on Sunday.
Our pleasure. Thanks for helping us out.
All right, you bet. Thanks a lot, Sarge.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin. You're dismissed.